In 2013, Nigel Godfrey bought the licence to the embattled New Zealand franchise of Miss Universe. 3 years on, and Miss Universe New Zealand is considered the golden child. And you'll never guess what he did to turn it around.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, but you, so much more importantly, you're a motivated small business owner, and you are ready to crank out some marketing that will build that baby of yours into the empire it deserves to be. Welcome if it's your first time round, and welcome back if it is your, this is the 313th episode, so thanks for coming back. Hey, big show today. Nigel Godfrey joins us, the proud owner of the Miss Universe franchise in New Zealand. Hey, who wouldn't want to own one of those? He's also quite an interesting fellow. He's a film and TV star, having appeared in, among other things, King Kong. Yeah, I know. I crowdsourced the answer to a listener question about how to promote a hair-on-fire emergency business. And if you're not telling your customers where to go, then maybe you should be. More on that idea after the interview. Hey, today's show lovingly brought to you by the good folk at Net Registry, who can get your online marketing sorted. You can check them out over at netregistry.com.au/Timbo. And I must say, that'll be one of the last times I say that, as another of their associated brands, one of their sister brands in Web Central, will shortly take their spot on this show. Hey, we're also made possible by Aussie-owned and operated Design Crowd, who give you a perfect custom design every time, guaranteed. Grab your VIP listener discount over at designcrowd.com/Timbo. As per usual, there is marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Okay, so raconteur. Probably the best word I've got for this fellow. Nigel Godfrey is our guest today. I sat next to him at a wedding late last year, got to know him. At the wedding, I had a very nice suit on. Nigel had a suit jacket with a map of the world on it. It caught my eye. I got talking to him, and he was as interesting as his jacket, let me tell you. He's a TV and film actor by trade, having appeared in King Kong and The Climb, Xena, Warrior Princess, Power Rangers, and that old family favourite, Shark in the Park. Yeah, what was that about? He's also spent time behind the camera as a TV producer and floor manager. Oh, and he sung for the Queen and Donny Osmond. He's done it all. But we're here to talk marketing, right? Talking business. 3 years ago, he bought the rights to the embattled Miss Universe brand in New Zealand, and with two business partners, has gone about turning it into one of the leading Miss Universe franchises in the world. And there is a very interesting story that has led to that. I think you're going to love the slightly eccentric Nigel Godfrey as he explains how he's done it. I started off by asking Nigel, who inspires him?
I'm very lucky in that one of the shows I produce is the Entrepreneur of the Year for EY here in New Zealand. So I get to meet extraordinary entrepreneurs on an annual basis. And I get to travel with the winner each year over to Monaco for the international final. So I guess my inspiration comes on an annual basis from a new person.
Really?
Mm.
And when inspiration hits, what is it about that person?
It's often their energy. I think entrepreneurs have a real never say die attitude. And a lot of us always are finding reasons not to do things. And they never look for reasons not to do things. Mm. They're always looking for the reasons to do it.
Yeah.
So every entrepreneur I ever meet, successful entrepreneur I ever meet, if I talk about an idea I'm thinking about, they're always asking me, well, why am I thinking about it? Mm-hmm. Why aren't I doing it?
They are glass half full type of people. Are you like that?
I guess sometimes I am. Because I work in the television industry, one can become a bit jaded because you do get a lot of knockbacks with ideas. And we all know, I think everyone's always said in the last 20 or 30 years, oh, there's nothing on television. And so if you're in the situation of proposing stuff to commissioners, you do get quite a lot of knockbacks. And they can hit hard. But, you're just waiting for the next one to be picked up, and then that gives you a fillip, and away you go.
Nige, I met you at the lovely Amanda Stevens' wedding. You told me a little bit about your background. It's very, very colourful. Prior to us hitting record, you said you work the floor. You're responsible for the floor on Family Feud. You travel with the winning entrepreneur from another TV show. When someone says to you, hey, Nige, what do you do? What's your response?
I think I actually say I work in television because that's probably the fairest and most accurate. But it is quite hard to pin down what I do.
Join the club.
That's a bit of a needs must, really, because living in New Zealand, it's very difficult to. I started out as an actor, and I still act now. But it's
Don't we all?
Indeed. Sorry, officer, I was no.
Yeah.
But it's hard to make a living 100% of the time as an actor, and I moved behind the camera many, many years ago. And at that time, when I first moved behind the camera, I really was just doing it for a means to an end, thinking, this is going to get me in. Then I started to enjoy it. And now I'm in the lucky position, the privileged position of being able to still act. I still appear in shows, and I still do ads and a few movies. But I also love directing and producing.
And you own Miss Universe New Zealand. More on that in a minute.
Yeah.
You're a true entrepreneur. I mean, I've not met someone like you who's kind of goes... you really go quite comfortably, I'm guessing, between the front and the back of the camera.
I do. I on my passport, when I was 16 in the UK, and I had to fill out occupation, and I didn't want to put schoolboy, I actually wrote entrepreneur.
Nice.
And it was odd, because back
then, entrepreneur, dirty word.
Very dirty word. I do remember a funny story. Actually, I do remember interviewing the Russian Entrepreneur of the Year last 2 years ago in Monaco at the international final. Normally, when you say to these entrepreneurs, these big time guys,
oligarchs,
have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur? They say yes. I used to sell lemonade, from the bottom of the garden, and picked apples and sold them and whatever, They've always been in the blood, nearly always. And I said to the Russian entrepreneur, did you always want to be an entrepreneur? And he said, no. Entrepreneur, no, not good when I was growing up. I want to be cosmonaut, You say you want to be an entrepreneur, you spend time in jail. And I thought that was really interesting, the way that in the Soviet bloc, before the wall came down and before things opened up, being an entrepreneur was an absolutely dirty word, and it was illegal. In fact, in the Soviet bloc, it was completely illegal to have any sort of ideas of entrepreneurship, because of course that equal capitalism.
Well, now even I would argue 10 years ago here in Australia, and New Zealand would probably be the same, because after all, New Zealand is a state of Australia, isn't it? But
I still can't find that bridge.
You can't find it. Okay.
I've been here for 25 years, and I'm still looking for the bridge.
But I would argue 10 years ago, entrepreneurship even then was a dirty word. Now I've got 3 teenagers. You ask them what they want to do. They either say they want to be an entrepreneur or they want to be famous.
It's an interesting one, because one of the things I struggle with, EY, which is Ernst & Young, are now known as EY. They own the Entrepreneur of the Year worldwide, and they run it in 50, 60 odd countries. And one of the things we struggle with, not so much here in New Zealand, but I know in Australia struggle with it far more, is the recognition of entrepreneurs and the celebration of entrepreneurship. We go crazy over sport. And we talk about sports people whenever they get busted for having too much in a bar. But they're such role models. Well, I don't know who made them role models. They're bloody good at playing sport, but I'm not asking my kid to go up and get fit and run around a rugby field. But we don't look at entrepreneurs in that way, and we should. we should look at people who create wealth and create jobs and look after people, and employ 500-600 people.
Totally agree.
Make families. We should be celebrating them, and they should be our role models.
Can you think of a defining moment to where that's kind of got you to where you are now, that you'll always look back on as being, that made me?
It's not. I think a lot of people think that it's all about getting a break. And it's not. The film and television business isn't about getting a break. It is about getting a break if you're that one person who suddenly shoots to fame and gets the break. But in fact, for most of it, it's a long, steady plot. So, you do your first movie. I remember doing my first in Australia on a series called GP. I had one line.
Whew.
That was my first line. And I thought, this is, as an adult actor, I thought, this is great. I thought, this is going to be it. But, then the next one you get a few pages of dialogue, and then you get a guest starring role. And it's a journey,
Love it. Well, let's fast forward in that game to 2013, Nige, when I understand you and two business partners bought the license to Miss Universe New Zealand. Now, I find this fascinating, the fact that you have a business that is involved with Miss Universe. Tell me about, what is it about Miss Universe that appealed, besides the obvious?
I was in London. I happened to be in London. Right. I think it was, can't remember what time of year it was, but it was the end of the year, I think. And I saw an article in the Daily Telegraph in London about a mess that was going on in New Zealand, and I was just over there visiting my parents. Mm-hmm. In the crown had been taken off the winner and given to someone else, and someone inside of the event had not been eligible, and someone else wasn't eligible. And I was aware that Miss Universe, had been going down and down and down since it disappeared from television. And I wrote a piece on Facebook, or I think at that time I might have been writing a blog on television, I can't remember. But I wrote a piece, and it basically said, look, love or hate these things. If you're going to do them, you do them properly, or you get out of the road. Because I'm sitting in London, and this is making us look stupid as a country. And somebody rang me, who I knew, and said, well, you make large-scale television programs and work on some of our biggest shows, because I've worked on Idol and X Factor. I said, well, why don't you do it? And I went, well, all right, then I will. And I threw a prop together with a couple of other people who were kind of in what I call pageant land. And lo and behold, the rights were taken off the person who had them and awarded to us. We were awarded the license. And at that point, I thought, what the hell have I done?
You just bought a business that you didn't realise you were about to buy. And
I bought a business, but not really, because it was a toxic brand.
Yeah, right. But this is interesting, Nige, because what you have done, and I hear this every now and then, where it's a bit like Branson. He goes and finds undermarketed industries, or industries that are too expensive or toxic, and turns them around. And it's a bit of that, isn't it?
Well, you look at what it is first, and then you look at what it can be.
Yeah.
So I bought it originally and said, we're going to just make it, and I'm being totally honest here, I was going to make an entertainment show. I thought, hey, I have some lovely girls, we'll do some work.
Why do you say honest? What's wrong with that?
Nothing at all. But I'm saying because I'll explain that my motivation behind being involved in this universe has since changed. Mm-hmm. So my first idea was make an entertainment show, give a great experience to the young women involved, make a bit of money for charity, and do okay, and get people watching it again. Because my feeling was, people will still want to watch this. I didn't believe that people didn't want to watch it. And I based that on the fact that we'd got X Factor going, so that competition. We've got New Zealand's Next Top Model. You have Australia's Next Top Model. You've got The Bachelor. All of those sorts of shows. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, that we're giving a title away here to represent the country. There's got to be more to ours than there is to these other ones. So we started to throw it together. Then what you do is you strip away what doesn't work. And what happened with beauty pageants right around the world is that in the 90s, they were hit hard by feminist movements, women's rights movements, and rightly so, because all they were women walking on the stage wearing a bikini and everyone looking and going, oh, of course, she's nice. And I would say that in Australia they haven't moved on too much since then. I don't think I would be wrong in saying
the lucky country they call Australia.
Yes, lucky, yes. And so I looked and thought, well, that's not what New Zealand wants. They don't want to see this. They want to see girls. Yes, there's nothing wrong with physical attraction, but beauty. But there's got to be more. There's just got to be more to these women. So the first thing I did was say, well, what we're going to do first is we're going to get rid of the bikinis on the stage. And every single person in what I refer to as pageant land, so the Miss World organisation over here, anyone who'd been involved, they said, you're mad, no one will come to your show.
Oh, I've just picked myself up off the ground. Bikinis off the stage. No bikinis in Miss Universe.
Yeah, no bikinis on the stage in Miss Universe.
Yep, you heard right. Nigel's big idea to turn Miss Universe New Zealand around was to remove bikinis from the stage. Now, personally, I don't get it. Don't get me wrong. I like removing bikinis, but from the stage of the world's biggest beauty pageant? Is he mad? I don't know. We'll find out shortly. Before he reveals the method in his madness, here's a word from a couple of businesses that know exactly what they're doing to help grow yours. The Small Business Big Marketing Show is grateful for the support of Aussie-owned business designcrowd.com, the world's #1 custom design marketplace where it's beautifully simple and cheap, I love cheap, to get a design you love guaranteed. I asked founder Alec Lynch what problems Design Crowd solved for us small business owners.
Buying design has traditionally been an expensive process, a slow process, and a risky process. Design Crowd's crowdsourcing solution fixes those problems.
DesignCrowd.com, a faster, cheaper, more creative way to get a custom logo, graphic or print design for your business. For a special VIP offer that can save you up to $100 on your first design, visit DesignCrowd.com/Timbo.
Get on Timbo's mailing list over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.
Support for this show comes from Net Registry, a one-stop shop for getting your online marketing sorted. Verity Ma, their Chief Marketing Officer, recently told me this story of a very happy mechanic.
So one of my favourite stories of customers that I heard was a salesperson was talking to a mechanic and he was talking about what sort of email he would like to have and what kind of hosting, whether he wants cloud or cPanel hosting. And the mechanic just said, look, I don't care, build my website, here's my phone number, make my phone ring and send me the bill. And that was the last we heard of him. He didn't provide us content. He didn't provide us any details about his business. We had his contact details. We wrote all the content and we just got his phone ringing and sent him the bill.
Net Registry, where happy mechanics go to grow their business online. Visit netregistry.com.au or give them a buzz on 1300 638 734 and tell them Timbo sent you. And now let's get back to Nigel Godfrey and see how removing the bikini section from Miss Universe worked.
Well, I looked at it and I thought, you want to see girls strutting around in bikinis on the stage, go to a club, go to the club up the cross. But it's not really what, I watched Miss World I was actually involved in it back in the day in the 80s. And we used to sit at home as kids watching it with the family and, where's Turks and Caicos? Oh, that's nice, isn't it? It was a show the family sat down to watch. And I was thinking, well, right, I've got to turn it into an entertainment special. Now, we had to still include swimwear. But there's an ad, which I think you've probably got in Australia, and we certainly have it here, where a guy walks up from the beach and he's wearing togs. Then he crosses the road and he walks into a shop and it's like inappropriate, completely appropriate for the beach. Wear them somewhere else, not the right thing. So I thought, well, what do we do? Let's take all of our fineness, let's go somewhere interesting, like Thailand, and shoot a bikini calendar, shoot a swimwear calendar, do it tastefully, and film that, and when we come to the swimwear section, go, you want to see the girls in swimwear? This is the swimwear.
Righto.
And a competition that previously was held in, the back room of a hotel with maybe 100 paying guests, turned into a sellout at Sky City Theatre in Auckland and back on the television.
So go on.
That's how we did it. Now, admittedly, along the way, I brought a whole load of other elements into it. Mm-hmm. So we got rid of all the regional competitions. We have auditions. We call them Stiletto Camp, where it's all about growth. You're there for 3 days. You have nutrition workshops. You have dance, choreography, media training, public speaking. You have a photo session.
Nigel, before you share the other things, I'm fascinated to know what you did to turn it around. But just take me through the process, because I know there'll be listeners tuning in who have businesses that are a little bit toxic right now, that are underperforming. Talk me through the process. Did you go, this is what Miss Universe currently isn't. This is what's missing. These are the bits that need to go. And what did you whiteboard it? Did you and your two partners sit around?
That's a very interesting. So there were 5 partners at start with, 5 people who came into our consortium, and we had a meeting. And I started with a whiteboard, and I wrote everything I knew, because there's no Bible. We weren't given a Bible from the previous franchisee. They wouldn't even release the website at the time. So we were starting running. So I wrote everything that I knew about Miss Universe on that board. And slowly I rubbed every single one of those off, saying, we don't want that, we don't want that. And I was left with 2 words at the top, and they were Miss Universe. And I turned to everyone, I said, so that's what we've got. We've got a premium beauty brand that we own, and we've got nothing else.
Was there anywhere else you could look, another country, that was nailing it?
Not really. Because South America and Asia and America itself are, it hasn't ever not been popular there, but they haven't really adapted. They haven't really changed. They're kind of still doing the stuff that offended the Europeans.
Well, they're pretty famous for their round bottoms over there, Nigel. So I think the bikinis will be there for...
They're still doing the same shtick, They're not trying to... the women's rights are very different in those countries.
Yeah,
and
right.
So for us to succeed, and one of the reasons, once it lost television in all of the European countries, it died because the wrong people were running it. The people who'd been involved on the edges suddenly found themselves able to go for a license. And it was like, oh, well, they'll take it, but they couldn't develop it. So we then looked at that whiteboard and said, well, what do we want? What do we want to bring in? And my thing was, firstly, we've got to please, we've got to get the cast happy. And those are the girls, those are the women involved. So they've got to love this experience. And all I ever heard was tragic pageant stories about girls being involved, being ripped off, having to pay money. I said, we've got to take all that away. So, I started off by taking away the entrance fees, which everyone just thought I was mad. And then I said, well, we've got to attract sponsors, and of course, what will we be asking them to sponsor? What will we be asking them to get involved with,
Okay, so just stop there, because that's interesting in itself. You have nothing. You have the rights to promote.
And nothing else.
So you go out to a sponsor. Are you looking for sponsors that are a bit of low-hanging fruit, people that you know? What did you offer them?
Well, so what I had to first establish was that this cannot just focus on a one-night event. No one's interested in a one-night event. But the days of sponsorship, I'll just give you some money, are gone. It's marketing. If I'm going to someone saying, will you sponsor? I'm not going to someone saying, will you put your brand and associate with us? And they've got to get something back. So we had to create a 3-month package where we were doing stuff. And of course, at that point, 3 or 4 years ago, the only thing available to us was social media. That was it. And I thought, this is
why? Because it was free?
Yes.
Right.
So that's where we had to play out our journey, our story. This is free media. And it was like, how do we do that? So that creates this thing called Stiletto Camp, which is the auditions. Create a buzz around that. And one of the most extraordinary things was when we announced the top 20 the first year. And We did that. It's going to be announced on Facebook at 8 o'clock on Sunday in June or whatever it was. And I thought, well, I'm sure this will get a few views. And we put it up, and I've never seen anything I've done on Facebook click like it did. So every time I refreshed, there were another 200-300 views. It got to 5,000 views. It got to 10,000 views. I'm ringing my business partner, Wellington. I said, have you seen this? Have you seen what's going on? It stopped at 57,000 views. This was for a company at the time. I think we had about 700 likes on our page.
Nice.
And so we're looking at this thinking, this is what really, when something goes a bit viral, that's what happens. Then we realize the power. And so we harness that power by all of our 20 finalists were given their own Facebook page, which we manage, they can contribute to. All our sponsors are then hit across all of those pages. Then we started, the next year, we put a lot more video onto our Facebook page. Then we set up our YouTube channel. And all of these things started to grow. And, the figures that come back from social media, we suddenly started to realize, because I was talking to people who were far more into marketing than I was, and I was telling them, well, we have a reach of 674,000 for the month before. And they were like, what? And I was, well, that's good, is it? They're like, yeah, that's valuable. That, you don't give that away.
Was it just Facebook that you used?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was totally just Facebook. We now use Instagram, what I do, I'm good at creating a post, but I'm not good at knowing how to, exactly how to get it and what to do. And so, you get the right people involved.
Yep.
And there are those people out there who can say, don't post at this time in the morning, post at that time. Don't this many words, put that many words.
How do you get the right people involved, Nige? Because you're essentially a startup. You've gone and bought this license. How much was the license, Nige? No one listening. How much was it?
It runs into it's over 10 grand.
Okay, all right. Interesting to know. Thank you for sharing that, because you're a startup. You've paid over 10 grand for the license. I'm guessing you don't have deep pockets to find these people to manage your social media.
We're funding it from cash flow. You're then funding the audition process.
Right.
And we're doing auditions right around the country.
Right, so you're getting pretty nervous at this stage.
And we're flying a team around the country.
So
because, we've decided that we're going to do these auditions, and the auditions are going to be such an amazing experience for everyone. That the media generated from all those individual girls is what we're after. So I said, if we break even on the auditions, great. So there's cost around there, and I think the audition process costs us about 20 grand.
Have you got sponsor funds coming in at this stage, or are you self-funding?
No, we're self-funding. So we're self-funding from, in the first year, from our own pockets. And then we did bring an entry fee in into the second year and the third year, because we just realized we were giving these extraordinary. I mean, my kids came home one day and said, "Oh, Dad, I want to go on a geography field trip to Hawaii." And I said, "How much is it?" And they said, "It's $6,000." And I thought, well, I'm taking young women who are 18, 19, up to 25 away to Asia for 9 nights and 5-star accommodation, and I'm charging them $500. What am I thinking? And they're all learning, so,
What's the entry fee now?
There's two things. One, you pay to come to Stiletto Camp, which is a 3-day experience. If you're outside Auckland, we put you up, and that costs you $279. And if it was a workshop, we've compared it to workshops, the sort of other 1-day workshops, and ours is a 3-day. A similar workshop would cost about $600 a 1-dayer, right? And we do it for $279. We can do that because we're pretty guaranteed on numbers. But the great thing is, it's not about one person talking to these girls. I've got, a choreographer who's worked with Chris Brown and Beyonce. I've got a great photographer who's going to take their photos. They get to keep those. We get a whole load of sponsor product in a goodie bag to give them to take away.
Nigel, on Stiletto Camp, do the girls need a marketing session? Like, do they need to be sat down and someone brought in for an hour to kind of...
We do talk. We talk to them about...
Yeah, right. You do. But you don't know much about marketing. What about getting a marketing professional?
You'd love to come, wouldn't you? You'd love to come.
Is that an invite? I'm not. I didn't know you'd picked up.
Happening. The only thing is, it's next week.
You're not going to believe this, but I can cancel everything next week. It's unusual, but I can. Hey, was there a moment when you got the wobbles? where you've gone, or you've just looked at yourself or your partner or someone and gone, what the have we done?
I think, we haven't cleared a lot of money. We turn over a lot of money, but we haven't cleared any money in the first 3 years. We haven't
breaking even?
We're breaking even. This year we should make some money. And I think, and last year when we didn't make a lot of money, I thought, why are we doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons, both myself and my business partner agreed that we're doing this, is because the journey that the semi-finalists and then the finalists go on changes their lives. See, a lot of other pageants, they'll do the pageant, they won't win, and they won't want to talk about it, and they won't want to go near it. We have girls who want to enter again, and they all become part of a family, they become part of the alumni, and it's a big family. And, a lot of the girls who've entered have come back to us and said, I've had to take a promotion at work, I now address meetings, I wouldn't have even stood up and spoken at a meeting before. And that is incredibly rewarding. The other thing that is really rewarding is that I brought in something called the Entrepreneurial Challenge.
Uh-huh.
So
they
have to, each girl has to run some sort of event. It could be a party, it could be a high tea, it could be a fashion show, it could be a sausage show, it could be anything. But they have to run this event. And that raises money, and 50% of that goes towards their journey with us, because our entry fee is very low, and 50% of that goes to charity, and it goes to Variety, the children's charity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after the competition this year, we will have raised $100,000 for Variety over the last 3 years,
mm-hmm.
and that's actually really quite rewarding, because 100,000 is 100,000 anyone's money,
yep.
And that helps deserving Kiwi kids. And it's worthwhile. So that's a fulfilling part of it. We've attracted great sponsors now. Honda is one of our sponsors, so our winner gets a car. I remember the States said to me, it was under Donald Trump at that time, and the licensing coordinator in New York. I was in New York having my sort of annual meeting with him, and she said, "Man, you give your winner a car. We can't even get a car." And so, that was nice. No, I'm sure they can get a car. But it was nice to feel that. And we were described by Paula Sugar, who is the president of Miss Universe worldwide, as the greatest turnaround of any territory in the last 25 years.
Mate, that's fantastic.
That was in, that's
in 3 years.
We've been sought out. So each year, many of the national directors go to the international final. So it was in Vegas this year. And often, you'll get chatting to other national directors at the national directors' dinner. And, I've had a few national directors come and find me
mm-hmm.
and say, "Hey, I see you're doing things a bit differently, we'd like to talk." And there's a few countries who've struggled. And struggle to get it back to any sort of, profile, and they wonder what we're doing to do it. And I think one of the things is it's never going to be back at the level it was in the 1950s when it launched, or the 1960s and 70s. It's never going to get back to that level because society has moved on. But
everything's a cycle, Nigel. Everything comes around.
Yeah, but you can build it up to a level. You can, it doesn't have to be at that level. You don't have to, that what was relevant then is not relevant now. And in the same way, you don't have to please everybody all the time because you can't. I make television shows that not everyone's going to like, but you go for an audience. You might make a drink that not everyone's going to like.
Mm-hmm.
You might make a toy that not everyone's going to like. You just go for a level of the market and you go as hard as you can for as many people as you can.
Nice.
I think often people get waylaid and people say to me, how are you going to convince someone? I'm never going to convince an ardent feminist that there's any good in Miss Universe at all. It's just not going to happen because their ears are closed before we start. They could talk to any of my 25ers. And I have to say, I've got doctors, lawyers, police officers, we're not talking vacuous airheads here. We're talking professional people. Probably 70% of our contestants have got university degrees. And they do it as a life skills, life building experience. That's why they do it.
Nige, if the fairy godmother could come down now and wave the magic wand to take Miss Universe New Zealand to the next level, what would she do?
She'd put us back on Freetoair television.
Right.
Which at the moment would be good. I don't know that and we're talking with Freetoair television, so the fairy godmother might be in the wings somewhere.
So are you currently on cable?
We went the first 2 years we were on cable, so niche channels. Last year we didn't go on television until we streamed. So in high definition.
Because I watched that, I saw that event, and it looked to me as though you're on TV. You were talking to camera.
Yeah, because of course I employ all the same people. Look, we were at the time. We just finished shooting X Factor, and so I just had the same camera and the same crane operators, and the same directors. And, I've been doing that for 25 years.
So you streamed it?
Looks great.
You streamed it? You streamed it?
So we streamed it. And, I was insistent with the stream because I've been in traditional telly for many years. Now I'm very excited by streaming. So I said to the guys doing my stream, I said, there's one thing I don't want. He said, well, you can encode so that people have to register. I said, I don't want to register. I don't want anyone to have to register. I want them to go to the site and I want them to see it playing, and it's got to be like watching telly. I said, you put one step in their way and people will walk away.
So what would stop free-to-air? I mean, having seen what you did with the 2015 final, highly produced, what looked like a TV program, why aren't they knocking on your door?
Well, we're talking. There's still that...
cringe factor?
Yeah, there is. It's hard. It's a hard one to get over.
I got an idea. Bring back the bikini. Hey?
The bikini's there. It's just not on the stage.
It's just on the calendar.
Yeah, no. It's moving pictures.
Yeah, right.
You look at the show. It's all there.
So what's the to me? I mean, I know I'm sure these negotiations take time. But we're coming up to when's the next final? When's the 2016?
September 3.
When is it?
September 3.
So is that going to be on free-to-air?
I hope it's going to have a free-to-air presence. Yeah.
Come on, free-to-air, step it up.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
We're talking.
Okay.
And I think they're all about numbers.
Yeah.
And we've just had The Bachelor here. I really cannot see why, if The Bachelor can screen. I'd put my house on the fact that they put Miss Universe back on air, it would rate through the roof.
Oh well.
But commissioners and programmers.
Time will tell.
Are not always the most exciting.
It's a great story, Nige. You're 3 years in. You're not even 3 years in. You've turned it around. Plenty of upside still. Good on you.
I think it's an exciting. It's exciting. It's actually exciting to take a brand and that has got problems.
Yes.
But underlying that, it wasn't the brand that had the problems. It was the way the brand was executed. And I think I've seen that, with a lot of the entrepreneurs I've worked with. They talk about timing, and they talk about people.
Yeah.
You also, what I've found is you can't do it all yourself. You must bring people in their areas of expertise, and you must trust them and just get them to get on with things too. That can sometimes cost, but you mustn't be afraid to shell out a bit to make something work. The days of the one-arm paper hanger, it's not going to work.
Well, I was going to wrap things up by asking you for a bit of business advice for those listening, but you've just given it to us, so thank you for that. Now, if people want to go and check out Miss Universe New Zealand, the website is? www.nextmissnz.com.
And
why couldn't you use Miss Universe in that?
Well, there's another interesting tale. So when we took the license, the previous person who had the license, refused to release missuniverse.co.nz.
Wow.
And in fact, they had no right not to release it, because we're not allowed to own Miss Universe. Anything with Miss Universe, it has to be owned by Miss Universe international, and then they would allow us to use it. But this person just refused. So we got in touch with the company that was hosting, and we sent them a copy of our contract, our license holding contract, and which clearly stated. And they said, well, what do you make of that? And I said, well, hang on a minute. When this person applied for this domain name, there's a bit in there in every form that says, any reason you shouldn't be able to own this. And they've ticked no, and you've accepted it. Now we're proving to you that actually they can't name it. So you have a duty to take it down. So of course they took it down, and I said, well, now you have to give it to us. And this company hosting said, well, no, we don't. I said, so this is like me telling you that the car's stolen, and you taking the keys off the person who's stolen the car, but leaving it on their driveway. And I said, you know what, we'll get it back, but I haven't got time to waste.
Yeah, right.
So I turned to my partner and said, we just have to go with something else.
Good on you. I like that attitude.
nextmissnz.com. And in fact, we now have those domain names back, but nextmissnz.com, it kind of works. So we just stick with it. Everyone over here knows our keep calm and wear a tiara slogan. And, we just went, we've created a brand that we're sticking with that.
Love it. That's a great story to finish on, Nige. Now, mate, hang on the line because I have got some dates free next week for Camp Stiletto. But thank you for sharing a lot of marketing gold.
Pleasure.
Well, there you go, team. Nigel Godfrey, Miss Universe, New Zealand, a.k.a. the bloke who removed bikinis from the world's most famous beauty pageant. Now, I hope you enjoyed it. I've got my top 3 attention grabbers thanks to Net Registry, who get your online marketing sorted, and designcrowd.com, who get you a design you love every time, guaranteed. Attention grabber number 1, we need to celebrate our entrepreneurs, the way we celebrate athletes and socialites. Let's lose the tall poppy syndrome, Australia, and maybe the rest of the world, and start to place on pedestals people who create extraordinary businesses. They're great role models for everyone. I love talking to my kids about them. I'm sure you love reading about them, hearing about them, so let's celebrate them. Attention grabber number 2. If you find yourself with a toxic business where things aren't coming together, then pull out the whiteboard and mind map all its different parts. Make hard decisions around what or who to keep and what or who to let go of. It seems to be what Nigel did to turn Miss Universe New Zealand around. Attention grabber number 3, you can't please everyone, team. If you try to, then you'll be nothing to no one. Pick a niche, I've spoken about this before, and chase it down the rabbit hole. A niche that's an inch wide and a mile deep. They'll love you, even if no one else does. Hey, what grabbed your attention? Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/313 and let me know. So I came across what I think is a pretty cool quote from 1920 from self-help author Robert Collier. Here's what he said, quote, "Tell him what to do. Tell him to put his name on the enclosed card, stamp it and mail it. Or pin his cheque or dollar bill to this letter and return it in the enclosed envelope." End quote. Now the lesson there, we need to be told what to do. Just ask my wife. She's telling me what to do every single day of the week. You do this, you do that, hey? But we do need to be told what to do. Nothing's changed. One of the fundamentals of marketing is be sure to have a clear call to action, a CTA, if you deal in acronyms. On every piece of marketing you create, just look at eBay's add to cart button. You can't miss it. What do they want you to do when they're on one of the pages? They want you to add it to the cart and buy it. Businesses like eBay research this stuff to within an inch of its life. So we don't have to recreate it. Just follow what the big guys do. Ask yourself, what do you want someone to do having read, watched, or listened to a piece of your marketing? That goes for every ad you create, your business card, every page on your website, a social media post, whatever it is. What do you want someone to do? The obvious answer, I know, is to buy from you. But buyer behaviour isn't that simple. There may be a few steps in between your marketing and someone buying from you. So consider these other call to actions. Ask them to register their interest, give you their contact details like an email or a phone number. Maybe you want them to share what they've just read or watched via social media. I'd love you to do that right now. Share this podcast on your Facebook. I'd love that. Pay it forward. That's my CTA. Maybe you want them to attend an event. Whatever you want them to do, be sure to make it crystal clear. Spell it out.
Hi there, it's Dr. Jesse Green from drjessegreen.com, and I'm the host of the Savvy Netters podcast. Just a short little message to Tim Reid. Mate, I just want to say a big fat thank you for writing The Boomerang Effect. It is a book of gold. I've read it cover to cover twice. I constantly dip into it, and the way you've dissected helpful marketing and made it practical and easy to implement, I'm really sure that this book is going to become the marketing Bible for small businesses globally. It is that good. So, mate, again, I just want to say a big thanks for putting this together. It's massively valuable, and I'm certainly going to be handing it out to all the guys in my community, and you know, I know they're going to love it. Fantastic work, mate. Keep it up. Talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks, Dr. Jess. Very kind words, buddy. Love your work. And if you'd like to grab a signed and personalised copy of my book, The Boomerang Effect, head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Got a listener question this week from Pete. Pete Nichols is his name. G'day, Pete. Thanks for sending in your question, mate. Thanks for listening to my show. He says, what's the greatest tip you have seen for a hair-on-fire emergency business such as an emergency plumber or electrician? Aside from spending a bucket load on AdWords, well, yeah, if you're spending a bucket load on AdWords, hopefully it's working, Pete. You know, if you're spending $1 and getting 20 back, I just keep finding bucket loads of dollars. Back to Pete. Or flooding the local area, excuse the pun, with leaflets and fridge magnets. Have you seen other techniques that work for a local business like that? It's a good question. I like it, Peter Nichols. I've got some answers. In fact, in the spirit of last week's episode with Crowd Carnivore, I've crowdsourced the answers. So here's some ideas for an emergency hair-on-fire type business. Number one, cover your car in fridge magnets and park it somewhere where there's high foot traffic. Ever seen that? Where a car is just covered in heaps of fridge magnets? People peel them off as they walk past. I like that one. That was my idea. I haven't got to the crowdsourcing yet. Another one of mine is to place a sticker somewhere obvious on the appliance. So when the hot water service breaks down or the lights go out, there's a sticker for that tradesperson right there to be contacted. Listener John Horse says a simple, fast, beautiful, responsive website. Lee Young says hold interactive sessions at schools around electrical safety, where the Sparky comes in, makes the kids laugh and scream and cry about the dangers of electricity, and then sends them home with a special offer for mum and dad. Hunter Leonard. G'day, Hunter. He's a mate. He's got Blue Frog Marketing. He's a good marketing guy, Hunter. He says hair-on-fire emergency businesses should go and attend to the problems of famous people. So, like, go and fix the Kardashians' bathroom sink that's clogged with hair. Or how's this one? Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull's toilet on the election bus. Geez, there wouldn't be any hair in that, that's for sure. He hasn't got any. Don't know what else would be in there. So opting for fixing a famous person or famous blogger's drain and then getting them to tell the world about it could be a nice piece of effective marketing. And Brendan McNally says, get clear on your keywords like block drains, burst hot water services, and create individual landing pages for each of those keywords. Yeah, that's a good idea. And don't forget, I'll add to that, create quality, helpful content. I talk about this in the Boomerang Effect all the time on your main site. Helpful content around, after hours emergencies, how to reset the safety switch or how to turn off your mains water. Create content that people can use, and I promise you they'll love you for it. Hey, thanks, Pete, for that question, and to those listeners who provided their ideas. I do love a bit of crowdsourcing. I might do that going forward. If you've got a marketing conundrum, leave a review on the iTunes store. Include your question. All right. There was a bit to cover today. Hair on fire emergency businesses, Miss Universe, bikinis or no bikinis. What do you reckon? Still reckon they should bring them back. But anyway, they haven't gone entirely. I get it. Plenty of marketing gold coming your way in the weeks ahead. Be sure to use Design Crowd to get pretty much anything designed. A typical project receives 60 to 100 plus designs from designers everywhere. Grab a VIP listener discount over at designcrowd.com/Timbo. And Net Registry if you need your social media managed, or maybe you just need to register a domain name. There's some great deals over at netregistry.com.au/Timbo. Hey, a big thanks to Jay Mueller, my wonderful new producer from badproducerproductions.com, for pulling this episode together. And to piano man, well, organ man really, Lockie Doley, for making my bed, my music bed, that is. Check him out over at lockiedoley.com. You want to surround yourself with other motivated business owners? Join the Small Business Big Marketing Club over at crankmymarketing.com. And if you need a speaker for an upcoming event, guess what I do when I'm not podcasting? Yeah, I know. Speak at events. I'm about to go to one tomorrow, actually, in Bris Vegas. Until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. Always have been, always will be. Thanks for listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.